One Year Bible, the Living Bible Paraphrase, June 8th. 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 3 through chapter 4, verse 34. Solomon loved the Lord and followed all of his father David's instructions, except that he continued to sacrifice in the hills and to offer incense there. The most famous of the hilltop altars was at Gibeon, and now the king went there and sacrificed 1,000 burnt offerings. The Lord appeared to him in a dream that night and told him to ask for anything he wanted, and it would be given to him. Solomon replied, "You were wonderfully kind to my father David because he was honest and true and faithful to you and obeyed your commands, and you have continued your kindness to him by giving him a son to succeed him. O Lord my God, now you have made me the king instead of my father David, but I am as a little child who doesn't know his way around. And here I am among your own chosen people, a nation so great that there are almost too many people to count. Give me an understanding mind so that I may govern your people well, and know the difference between what is right and what is wrong. For who by himself is able to carry such a heavy responsibility?" The Lord was pleased with his reply and was glad that Solomon had asked for wisdom. So he replied, "Because you have asked for wisdom in governing my people and haven't asked for a long life or riches for yourself or the defeat of your enemies, yes, I'll give you what you ask for. I'll give you a wiser mind than anyone else has ever had or ever will have. And I'll also give you what you didn't ask for, riches and honor. And no one in all the world will be as rich and famous as you for the rest of your life. Now I'll give you a long life if you follow me and obey my laws as your father David did." Then Solomon woke up and realized it had been a dream. He returned to Jerusalem and went into the tabernacle, and as he stood before the ark of the covenant of the Lord, he sacrificed burnt offerings and peace offerings. Then he invited all of his officials to a great banquet. Soon afterwards, two young prostitutes came to the king to have an argument settled. "Sir," one of them began, "we live in the same house, just the two of us, and recently I had a baby. When it was 3 days old, this woman's baby was born too, but her baby died during the night when she rolled over it in her sleep and smothered it. Then she got up in the night and took my son from beside me while I was asleep, and laid her dead child in my arms, and took mine to sleep beside her. And in the morning, when I tried to feed my baby, it was dead. But when it became light outside, I saw it wasn't my son at all." Then the other woman interrupted, "It certainly was her son, and the living child is mine." "No," the first woman said, "the dead one is yours, and the living one is mine." And so they argued back and forth before the king. Then the king said, "Let's get the facts straight. Both of you claim the living child, and each says that the dead child belongs to the other. All right, bring me a sword." So a sword was brought to the king. Then he said, "Divide the living child in two and give half to each of these women." Then the woman who really was the mother of the child and who loved him very much cried out, "Oh no, sir, give her the child, don't kill him." But the other woman said, "All right, it will be neither yours nor mine. Divide it between us." Then the king said, "Give the baby to the woman who wants him to live, for she is the mother." Word of the king's decision spread quickly throughout the entire nation, and all the people were awed as they realized the great wisdom God had given him. Here is a list of King Solomon's cabinet members. Azariah, son of Zadok, was the high priest. Elihoreph and Ahijah, sons of Shisha, were secretaries. Jehoshaphat, son of Ahilud was the official historian in charge of the archives. Benaniah, son of Jehoiada, was commander-in-chief of the army. Zadok and Abiathar were priests. Azariah, the son of Nathan, was secretary of state. Zabud, son of Nathan, was the king's personal priest and special friend. Ahishar was manager of palace affairs. Adoniram, son of Abda, was superintendent of public works. There were also 12 officials of Solomon's court, one man for each tribe, responsible for requisitioning food from the people for the king's household. Each of them arranged provisions for 1 month of the year. The names of these 12 officers were Ben-Hur, whose area for this taxation was the hill country of Ephraim. Ben-Decker, whose area was Makaz, Shalbim, Beth-Shemesh, and Elon Beth-Hanan. Ben-Hesed, whose area was Arubboth, including Succoth and all the land of Hepher. Benadab, who married Solomon's daughter, the princess Taphath, whose area was the highlands of Dor. Baanah, the son of Ahilud, whose area was Taanach and Megiddo, all of Beshin near Zarathan, below Jezreel, and all the territory from Beth-Shin to Abel-Meholah and over to Jokmeam. Ben-Geber, whose area was Ramoth-Gilead, including the villages of Jair, the son of Manasseh, and Gilead, and the region of Argob and Bashan, including 60 walled cities with bronze gates. Ahinadab, the son of Iddo, whose area was Mahanaim. Ahimaaz, who married Princess Bashmath, another of Solomon's daughters, whose area was Naphtali. Baanah, son of Hushai, whose areas were Asher and Bealoth. Jehoshaphat, son of Paruah, whose area was Issachar. Shimei, son of Elah, whose area was Benjamin. Geber, son of Uri, whose area was Gilead, including the territories of King Sihon of the Amorites, of King Og of Bashan. A general manager supervised these officials in their work. Israel and Judah were a wealthy, populous, contented nation at this time. King Solomon ruled the whole area from the Euphrates River to the land of the Philistines and down to the borders of Egypt. The conquered peoples of those lands sent taxes to Solomon and continued to serve him throughout his lifetime. The daily food requirements for the palace were 195 bushels of fine flour, 390 bushels of meal, 10 oxen from the fattening pens, 20 pasture-fed cattle, 100 sheep, and from time to time deer, gazelles, roebucks, and plump fowl. His dominion extended over all the kingdoms west of the Euphrates River, from Tiphsah to Gaza, and there was peace throughout the land. Throughout the lifetime of Solomon, all of Judah and Israel lived in peace and safety, and each family had its own home and garden. Solomon owned 40,000 chariot horses and employed 12,000 charioteers. Each month, the tax officials provided food for King Solomon and his court. Also, the barley and straw for the royal horses in the stables. God gave Solomon great wisdom and understanding and a mind with broad interest. In fact, his wisdom excelled that of any of the wise men of the East, including those in Egypt. He was wiser than Ethan the Ezrahite and Heman, Charcoal, and Darda, the sons of Maol, and he was famous among all the surrounding nations. He was the author of 3,000 proverbs and wrote 1,005 songs. He was a great naturalist with interest in animals, birds, snakes, fish, and trees, from the great cedars of Lebanon down to the tiny hyssop, which grows in cracks in the wall. And kings from many lands sent their ambassadors to him for his advice. Acts chapter 6, verses 1 through 15. But with the believers multiplying rapidly, there were rumblings of discontent. Those who spoke only Greek complained that their widows were being discriminated against, that they were not being given as much food in the daily distribution as the widows who spoke Hebrew. So the 12 called a meeting of all the believers. We should spend our time preaching, not administering a feeding program, they said. Now look around among yourselves, dear brothers, and select 7 men, wise and full of the Holy Spirit, who are well thought of by everyone, and we will put them in charge of this business. Then we can spend our time in prayer, preaching, and teaching. This sounded reasonable to the whole assembly, and they elected the following: Stephen, a man unusually full of faith in the Holy Spirit; Philip, Prochorus, Nicanor, Timnon, Parmenas; Nicholas of Antioch, a Gentile convert to the Jewish faith who had become a Christian. These 7 were presented to the apostles, who prayed for them and laid their hands on them in blessing. God's message was preached in ever-widening circles, and the number of disciples increased vastly in Jerusalem. Many of the Jewish priests were converted too. Stephen, the man so full of faith in the Holy Spirit's power, did spectacular miracles among the people. But one day, some of the men from the Jewish cult of the freedmen started an argument with him, and they were soon joined by Jews from Cyrene, Alexandria in Egypt, and the Turkish provinces of Cilicia and Asia Minor. But none of them was able to stand against Stephen's wisdom and spirit. So they brought in some men to lie about him, claiming they had heard Stephen curse Moses and even God. This accusation roused the crowds to fury against Stephen, and the Jewish leaders arrested him and brought him before the council. The lying witnesses testified again that Stephen was constantly speaking against the temple and against the laws of Moses. They declared, "We have heard him say that this fellow Jesus of Nazareth will destroy the temple and throw out all of Moses' laws." At this point, everyone in the council chamber saw Stephen's face become as radiant as an angel's. Psalm 126, verses 1 through 6. When Jehovah brought back his exiles to Jerusalem, it was like a dream. How we laughed and sang for joy. And the other nations said, "What amazing things the Lord has done for them." Yes, glorious things. What wonder, what joy. May we be refreshed as by streams in the desert. Those who sow tears shall reap joy. Yes, they go out weeping, carrying seed for sowing, and return singing, carrying their sheaves. Proverbs chapter 16, verses 26 and 27. Hunger is good if it makes you work to satisfy it. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. Idle lips are his mouthpiece.